right, I see the doors closing there, so a very warm welcome to this session today. For those that haven't met me yet, I'm David Smith. I'm ATPCo's Director of Airline Offer Distribution. I'm joined by two experts who are going to tell you some really good information about dynamic offers capability and how to make the most of your optimized offers. So thank you for spending time and sticking with us through the journey. First of all, I'm going to, as you are very used to by now, I'm sure, I'm going to read this disclaimer. It's a little small for me on this screen, so forgive me if I turn my head this way. I'm mic'd. So it's a very important context, as you've heard, for the way that we operate and the way we are able to collaborate as we talk through these solutions. So the purpose of this meeting is to discuss the coding, processing, and standardization of airfare-related data by the airline industry to make the distribution and interpretation of airfare-related data more accurate, automated, and efficient. Participants must conduct themselves in a manner consistent with this meeting's industry-wide pro-competitive mission, because some, if not all, participants represent companies that compete with one another. We must not engage in conduct that could be perceived as a violation of the antitrust laws or the competition laws around the world. Accordingly, this meeting will not discuss or take action regarding any fare, rule, or fee, nor will it discuss or take action on remuneration levels of any intermediaries engaged in the sale of passenger air transportation. This meeting also has no authority to discuss or reach agreement on the allocation of markets, the division or sharing of traffic or revenues, or the number of flights or capacities to be offered in any market. Discussions regarding such matters or concerning any other competitively sensitive topics, either on the floor or off, are strictly prohibited. Discussing or reaching any agreement related to these topics could expose meeting participants to liability under the US antitrust laws or under competition laws of other jurisdictions around the world. Further, so the content of this meeting is not misinterpreted, ATPCo requests that participants refrain from any communications concerning that content over social media or other public platforms. Hopefully you'll memorize that by the end of the sessions today. Thank you for your attention. So you've heard Alex this morning talk about how the industry is reinventing offer construction. And you're familiar now, I hope, with the concept of the airline retailing sophistication matrix. And that really charts the journey in terms of product and price, your X and Y axis there. And of course, ours is an industry, as we've seen, of hundreds of airlines, of thousands of actors all needing to interoperate, but also charting their own path based on where they need to be for the best of their own business. So fundamentally, we continue to look at the journey in terms of optimized, in terms of three types of offer for dynamic. That's optimized offers, and that's using ATPCo data and airline availability. We have adjusted offers, that's using ATPCo data and adjusting the price or what's in the bundle, using Architect, Product Catalog, and Route Happy, and then continuous offers, of course, that top right-hand side there, using big data and advanced science. So again, all airlines at a different stage, but these are tools that are designed to help you all get there and us get there as an industry together. So I will repeat again, so I think it's a very important term that it is a transition. And you've seen the slide again this morning from Alex that our products support those processes all the way through from pricing and market intelligence to product sophistication, pricing sophistication, distribution strategies, and revenue accounting. And those products are going through their own transformative journey, just as all of us in the industry are, as we enable more and more dynamic offer capabilities and allow all actors in the industry to be where they need to be within that airline maturity matrix. And we see products in those first two areas especially moving to become the foundation for adjusted pricing strategies. So again, you'll see it's a journey, and you'll hear that journey told throughout the story today. But in this session particularly, you're going to hear from our two experts that I'm very happy to turn this over to about three optimized solutions that can help you get towards more optimized pricing and will play a fundamental and evolutionary role towards adjusted and continuous offers. And those three that you'll hear about as per the agenda are dual RBD, quantum pricing, and positional match. So without further ado, I'll turn over to our experts to talk through. First of all, Melanie Desilak, welcome to the stage to talk through dual RBD. Over to you, Mel.
Thanks, David.
There's extra feedback. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I am happy to be here with you today to talk about dual RBD. I know for some of you, this might be something you've already heard before, so bear with me. But for some of you, dual RBD might be something new or something that you're looking to implement in your own airline. So that's why we're here today, to make sure that you understand some of the functionality and value that it can provide. Now, as David said, dual RBD is part of our optimized offers section of the sophistication matrix, and we believe that it is something that you could make use of very quickly and easily in order to step into dynamic offers. So if you are running out of RBDs, if those 26 letters are not enough for you and you need more price points beyond the 26, then you might want to take a look at dual RBD because it can expand to up to 182 price points. And that is a really good way to step into dynamic offers to help fill out that demand curve a little more and have the ability to have more price points out there for your products. So, dual RBD, it allows you to improve your revenue opportunities. As we said, it's very simple. By requiring availability in 2 RBDs, you can expand the number of price points that you have available to you. So you increase your price points, you can move beyond the current 26. Those constraints that you see with the current 26 are no longer an issue for you when you implement dual RBD. It does allow you to optimize your yields, your upsells. In some of the use cases, you can improve your workflow efficiencies. You can increase the accuracy across your brands and your products. And ultimately, it can be a first step into dynamic offers. So we see a few different use cases. And I'm going to just kind of pause here and just let you know, we're going to look at 3 use cases for dual RBD, and these are based on what we're seeing in the market today, either that have been successfully implemented or that have been successfully tested. But these are by no means the total number of use cases available. This functionality exists, and you're welcome to use it to the depth and capacity and creativity that you want to add into it. So I'll walk through the 3 use cases, but be aware that there are certainly more that each airline could look into. So as we said, it allows you to evolve beyond the current current 26. And there are over 60 airlines using dual RBD today. So over 60 airlines see the value and they're enjoying that value today. One thing I like to point out, if you have any question on whether dual RBD is good or bad, you should be aware that ATPCO has a new business request that is out for industry feedback where the airlines are asking for 3 RBDs. So the 2 is great, and now they want 3. So if there's any question at all about whether this is valuable or not, I think that kind of answers your question. We're looking at try RBD. So I might be up here at the next Elevate talking about 3 RBDs with you. All right, let's take a look at the use cases. The first use case for dual RBD is the original use case. This is what started it off. This is the whole reason we put the functionality out there in the first place, and that is the upsell use case. The airlines asked for dual RBD because they wanted to allow a lower cabin fare to book into a higher cabin as long as availability was still open in the lower cabin. So looking at this use case here, hypothetically, let's say we have economy RBDs in H, Q, and V, and we have upsell economy fares that book into first as long as the economy RBD is still available. And then we have our first class A fare. So in this case, all of first class always books into A. The price points are actually controlled by the dual RBD validation and indicating that as long as you still have seats open in economy, you can offer this upsell fare. So for example, looking at what we have here on the screen, if you had V class closed, so if the lower economy is closed, you could still offer the passenger economy and Q. You could also offer the Q upsell fare, which would book into A because the Q is still available. So very common use case. We see this very commonly used across the data at ATPCO. And again, it was the original use case that brought dual RBD out into the market where we have it today. All right, the second use case I want to look at, and we see a lot of airlines using this, and we call this prices moving in lockstep, if you will, or synchronized pricing across brands. And here, this enables airlines to control the difference in price points across their brands, either by a set amount or a percentage amount, or a lockstep or a synchronized price points across brands, so that is when one brand changes its price due to RBDs opening and closing, the other brand will move in lockstep or move in synchronization with it. So looking at the example, hypothetically again, let's assume we have 3 economy brands. We have the basic economy, which is our lowest economy. We have just economy or standard economy in the middle. And then on the right, we have super economy. Now, our standard economy is our anchor, if you will. There's no dual RBD validation in the standard economy. It's using a set of 6 RBDs in this example. It books into Y, M, Q, H, K, and L. But the economy is the anchor, and its RBDs are used as secondary RBDs for the basic and for the super. So what we mean by that is if you look at basic economy, let's just look at that on the left side. All of basic books into one RBD. So you're able to have an entire brand that only utilizes one RBD, and you use dual RBD validation to control your price points. So you're opening up more price points simply by requiring inventory in 2 RBDs. And your basic economy price points will be controlled by the availability of the economy or the standard economy. So in this example, hypothetically, basic economy is always $50 less than standard economy. It may always be a percentage difference. It may be a percentage difference across the levels, but it always maintains that different amount in this example. So if we closed the lowest economy, let's say L class is closed, that means basic economy would book into the $625 fare because its lowest class would not be available because L class is closed. Same thing on the right with super economy. If I close my economy classes, then my super economy price points move up accordingly, and they all remain in lockstep. Again, only 1 RBD used for basic, only 1 RBD used for super, and then I just use the 6 RBDs for the economy, and I get all of the price points that you see on the screen today. Now, another similar example to this is prices moving in lockstep across cabins. So the first example just looked within the one cabin. We had everything in economy. You can use the same thing to move across cabins. Here we used a very simple example of economy, business, and first, where we're using our economy cabin as our anchor again, and then its RBDs are controlling the price points in business and first. Whereas in this example, business is always $200 more, first is always $500 more, and then as I open and close the economy RBDs, it changes the price points that I'm making available in business and first. Another example I don't have on the screen, but that is really, really common, is doing this price synchronization across economy and premium economy. We see that often as well. Now, these examples, the synchronization and the upsell, we have detailed out in the RBD implementation guide, and we've also given some hypothetical availability included in the example, so you can see how you might be opening and closing number of seats available and how that impacts the use cases that we've gone through here. If you want some more information, I'd say take a look at the implementation guide. One other use case I want to call attention to, and this is a newer one, and this has been tested, but I don't believe that it's actually been implemented, but it's something that we think is viable for an airline to use. And this is what we call reserving a trigger class to create more price points. So in this example, we took our traditional RBDs on the left, where you've got the 5 RBDs, the M, H, Q, K, and V. And we said that 5 RBDs gives you 5 price points. But you could reserve a trigger class. Here we used an X. You could take X out of action, so to speak, and reserve it as a trigger class to control the price points or to add more price points beyond the 5 RBDs that you already have. So that by using X in combination with the 5 RBDs, you're using 6 RBDs now, you're able to get 10 price points. So 6 RBDs gives you 10 price points. So you can see how dual RBD validation helps you get beyond the 26 price point constraint. So this example also is detailed out in the implementation guide, and we give you some ideas and guidance on how you might want to look at your opening and closing your inventory as you move up your ladder with a trigger class reserved. All right, with that said, there are no roadblocks to implementing dual RBD, but there are some things you need to take into consideration because you do want to make sure that this works throughout your entire ecosystem. So you want to take a look not only at your shopping and pricing and availability, but make sure that it works in all your downline processes. So just to look at that really quickly, nothing's broken, as we say, but a lot of downline processes only look at one RBD. So a lot of downline processes are only looking at that prime RBD, and they may not be aware that there was a second RBD required in the original sale of that fare. Also, when you get to a downline process and you look at a ticket and you see a fare on the ticket, there's nothing there telling you that it was a dual RBD fare. So if you need to know that, a lot of airlines have handled that with their taxonomy or their fare basis code taxonomy or that positional match that Daphne's going to talk about a little bit later. Positional match solution here just means that a lot of airlines reserve a position in their 8-character fare basis code, and they use an element there to tell us if it's a dual RBD fare. That way, the airline is able to look at that fare and understand that there was dual RBD, and that helps them in a lot of downline processes. It helps with fare management, it helps with product performance analysis, it helps with comparing like products so they can look at one fare basis code to another and know how they compare and don't compare. It helps with alignment across interline partners, and then they use the positional match within their ATPCO coding. So for example, they can code our optional services using a positional match or other data with the positional match to really target the dual RBD fare. So that's something you might want to think about. If you haven't already implemented dual RBD and you're having some downline challenges, you might want to look at a fare basis code position to help resolve it. For changes and refunds, they are always something that needs to be taken into consideration. We say all along, it's almost easy to price something originally. It's really hard to reprice something. Easy to issue the initial ticket, really challenging when it goes through changes. And so change and refund is something we always have to take into consideration with every new idea, new concept that we implement. And dual RBD is no different. So one thing you want to take a look at is your RBD hierarchy. If your change and refund processing requires the system to build an RBD hierarchy, so hierarchy of RBDs, which one was my highest fare, which one's my lowest fare, that's often built on the prime RBD or the first RBD. It doesn't take secondary RBD into consideration. So if you're doing voluntary change processing, if it requires an RBD hierarchy, your dual RBD fare may come into that hierarchy at a different place than you'd expect. So another consideration for you to think of. Inventory management, obviously you'll want to make sure your inventory management can handle 2 RBDs. It can handle the structure that you put in place. And then for specific sales channels, you want to consider, are you going to open up dual RBD fares to everyone, or are you going to only target certain channels? Because we see some airlines only opening these up to channel specific, maybe only in their direct channel, maybe only in their NDC channels, because it gives them some more control to take care of any of these other downline challenges. So it's all things that you need to consider as you move forward. And again, we have detailed these out in our implementation guide. All right, so in terms of the data setup, if you weren't already aware, this is existing functionality in ATPCO. All of the pricing systems that are receiving our data can handle dual RBD. It is in the chart 1. So you can go into anyone that's a ATPCO speak, that is your RBD chart 1. And in your chart 1, it's simply an application tag, which you can use your application tag, either the B as in boy or D as in dog, B or D, and they simply say if RBD1's available, then RBD2 is required or permitted. So it's very simple in the terms of ATPCO coding. The challenges, again, are making sure that you set your scope, you make sure that your downline processes can handle it, you make sure that your inventory and availability can handle this. But other than that, as we say, the sky's the limit. The use cases and the application you want to apply here is up to each individual airline. If you want some more detail on any of this, we're also here to provide that. Happy to have bilateral meetings. Happy to provide the implementation guide to you if you haven't already seen it. And again, remember, 3 RBDs are coming. So if you already have dual, you might get 3. So if you haven't already filled out your industry feedback, go please take a look and give us some information, because that helps us prioritize development. With that, I am finished, and I will turn this over to Daphne to talk about quantum pricing. Thank you. There you go.
Awesome. Thank you, Melanie. As Melanie said, I'm Daphne Noteware. Nice to be here with you today. I'm going to talk a little bit more about some optimized pricing solutions that are in the marketplace and available for you to use today. So we're going to start with quantum pricing. And perhaps you need a way and a transitional step, taking one step at a time, just the small incremental progress into the world of dynamic offers, dynamic pricing. Quantum pricing is a good option potentially for you if that is the case. The ultimate goal in this case is that it would provide the ability to do more optimal price determination while using the current infrastructure and framework that exists today. So first, just a little bit of context. What do we mean when we say quantum pricing? So quantum pricing is really just more frequent fare updates based on the airline's own automated price determination or artificial intelligence or science. So sometimes this is also applied for specific customers or in specific situations given the context. So this is a process that is used by many airlines today. So it's nothing new, as we said, it's in the marketplace today. And basically what the airline is doing is taking the ATPCO filed fare, and then they are applying their own science or machine learning or algorithms, artificial intelligence, adjusting that price based on their own strategy, and then refiling that fare back into ATPCO or using fare uploads to put that data back into ATPCO. So as for the benefits of quantum pricing, this gives you the opportunity to make more frequent changes to achieve more accurate and optimal prices that would better match the product and or market conditions that you are facing. And potentially, you can achieve improved revenues and customer satisfaction as a result of the more personalized or customized offering. So as I said, this is a transitional step into the world of dynamic pricing and available for airlines to use today. The benefit is that airlines can dynamically price in this optimized space while, again, using the existing, current, efficient infrastructure and process. So as Melanie used the word break, I will also use it. Will not break anything for you. You can do this today in the current construct. So there are also some challenges along with those benefits, though. So there's some integration challenges. Today, you have the ability to refile that data back in ATPCO after you make your adjustments, or you can use fare uploads to do that. And I'm going to talk about that as an opportunity and reframe that here for you in a moment. Also, another challenge is just the limited or even no reuse of data. So in today's system, of course, we are optimized based on the reuse of data. And quantum pricing often uses a lot of flight-specific or market-specific data. So there's just an overwhelming increase in volumes within this concept. So moving on to the next challenge then, volumes and scalability. So there are constraints on the ATPCO and GDS side as this would scale for industry-wide use. So we need to do some work in this space to make it sure that it is sustainable and scalable. So then on the other hand, we'll reframe these again as opportunities, some of the work that we can do together. So ATPCO this year, we're going to spin up a focus team that reports up to the Dynamic Offers design team for quantum pricing and explore some of these opportunities for improvement with the industry. So first opportunity is integration. Of course, again, today we have fare uploads, but we do have an opportunity to explore potential APIs for this use case. And then as far as the data goes and optimization of the data, there are a few solutions that we will aim to explore. And the first is the concept of fair minimum and maximum price ranges. So this proposal would allow airlines to continue defining the product's business rules and attributes using the ATP code data standards, so the fare rule footnote routing standards. But it would also enable airlines to leave the exact price amount unspecified. So instead of a specific fare amount, the airline would provide a minimum and a maximum range for that product, indicating the lowest and the highest potential values. So it's sort of by providing a guardrail of what that fare amount could be. And then the second opportunity is the concept of no RBD at all. We believe that we'll be starting with fare min max ranges first. We've had some conversations with the industry previously on both of these topics, so we won't discard that work. We'll pick up where we left off, revisit that, and then start that conversation, move that conversation forward together with you. So I think there's a lot of good opportunity here. I'm going to talk, you'll see opportunities to respond via QR code if you're interested in something. And if this is an area of interest, we can get you connected where you would have an opportunity to participate in that focus team once we begin that work. Okay, so the next topic is positional match. And this is really cool functionality. And if you're not familiar with it, obviously you'll learn a little bit more here today, but I just want to say, I wish I had this back in my airline days when I was an analyst at the airlines. If you need a more efficient way to manage and define your fare classes, products, or branded products, and their associated rule conditions, this might be a good solution for you. The concept of positional match in fare products is that it would streamline and make more efficient a way to identify and manage your product offerings. So positional match simplifies the association of fare products with specific policies or rule conditions by focusing in on a specific character or characters within the airline's fare basis code. So this method centers around the use of the airline's own proprietary fare class taxonomy, which Tom talked about a little bit this morning. So their fare class or fare basis code schema. So there are 8-character fare basis codes. That, of course, includes important information about the fare product attributes, so rule conditions such as advanced purchase requirements, seasonality, cabin class, brands, etc. The list goes on. So this approach would allow for more efficient data management and increase the accuracy of product descriptions and offerings without the need to reference the entire fare basis code or fare family for every rule condition that you code. Or in the sequences that you code. So this is an option that is currently widely available. It's available in rule categories, carrier-imposed fees, optional services, branded fares, and footnotes. So you would use this coding mechanism in the category control, or in ATPCO speak, the record twos, for all categories and rules and footnotes. I will say there's an exception for category 25 fare by rule, because that doesn't have a fare class family field, but it is newly available in the base fare table 989 in category 25 fare by rule, and in the RBD table 999. And if that wasn't enough detail, there's some really exciting news in May. It's coming also into the subcategory 108, which is in category 10 combinations, the ratio table 988 in the category 31 and in category 33. So watch your ATPCO notifications for that. If you're a user of positional match, there will be more options available for you soon. So it's really an option that's being widely used in the marketplace today. It's being used by over 75 airlines across the different rule categories and options. So really the use cases for this are around market positioning, having data and downline processes, and accuracy and efficiency. So airlines can differentiate and quickly update their fare offerings to remain competitive or to meet specific market demands based on their strategy. This solution also streamlines product identification, tracking, or reporting for specific products throughout the end-to-end life cycle. So from ticket issuance to revenue accounting and settlement. And finally, airlines can efficiently define and manage all rules and conditions for specific fare families or classes, which of course can improve speed to market as a result. So just to take this down into a little bit more detail on how positional match works. We won't walk through a full example, but you can see on the screen there are a couple examples of how you can code this in your rules today. So as I mentioned, this is all based and dependent on the airline's own fare class taxonomy. So what alphanumeric figure appears in which of the airline's 8-character fare class, with a product attribute representing each character or characters, and how to define and apply that to the rule categories, carrier-imposed fees, optional services, branded fares, or footnotes. So there are 2 ways to apply this matching process. So for instance, in the rules, category control or record 2, one can use an exclamation point or an ampersand to specify the type of match. So this is how to apply numbers to specify if, for instance, there is a 2-digit number, it should be applied as a whole number or as individual characters in those positions, for example. So this solution is again available today. I will say it does take some time to set up with the taxonomy. So you'd want to plan for that and set this up through establishing this fare class taxonomy, which it's reliant on, or schema. But it has a lot of benefits and efficiencies once that process is complete. So perhaps you have a fare class taxonomy today and it's defined, but you just haven't been using this efficient coding methodology. If that's the case, for sure reach out to us and we will help you get set up with using this solution, as it's, again, available for you today. And then again, if you are using positional match today, there's going to be some more options coming your way in May, so that's exciting news. Okay, so just want to round out our optimized offers session by talking about other solutions that we have available in this space, which includes 3 Victors, Architect, Assembled Data, and Route Happy. So of course we have 3 Victors, recently acquired by ATPCO. They enable airlines to make better data-driven decisions via their aggregated and enhanced data sources, and for airlines to be able to take action on that data according to their strategy. So they have several pricing products or data tools, I should say, in the marketplace today. So we have PriceEye and DemandView. Perhaps some of you attended that session this morning, but you'll have an opportunity to express interest to learn more with our QR code at the end of this session as well if you're interested. We also have the ATPCO pricing management tool, Architect, which provides a streamlined, efficient way to define and manage your changes based on your pricing strategy. And we have ATPCO's Assembled Data feed, which brings together our fare and rule data into a merged view so that it's all ready for your monitoring and analysis needs and that it can feed into your decision-making processes. And then finally, we have Route Happy content that includes the UTAs, so universal ticket attributes, the amenities data, as well as UPAs, so the universal product attribute visual content, so that would help you to enhance your visual aspect of your offers. So these are all offerings, again, in the optimized space, but as we move along in our transformation to more dynamic offers, so as each airline matures along that matrix, these solutions will evolve along with you. So just rounding out this session on optimized offers, just want to take a look back at the platform picture. Again, we talked all about the optimized offerings in the marketplace here today. But this afternoon, after lunch at 2:10 and 3:10, we will go through what we're working on in the adjusted and then the things for the future for the continuous offer space as well. So if you're interested in learning more about those, feel free to join us.